Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's April 8th, 2020, and I thought I'd share with you a little bit of work that I've been doing in the semi-erect thornless blackberry patch recently. I just finished up doing some work up there today, but I actually started last week going in and doing what I'm going to call salvage pruning. What do I mean by salvage pruning? Well, I posted videos in the past, and hopefully I'll remember to put a link in the upper right-hand corner to the thornless blackberry patch that we have and how I go about pruning them. And unfortunately, the last couple of years, I've neglected the blackberry patches. The deer have been in there. They actually have run through some of the fencing, and because of my negligence, I let a lot of the thornless blackberries really extend out their limbs. And so in other words, the new growth each season sometimes can get 15, 16, 18 feet long. And when the deer herds go in there every night, they'll go ahead and pull on those, and some of the canes get bent down as well. So the other problem that I have in that thornless blackberry patch that I have up there, and I have 7 rows, is that more towards the western side of the property, where the property really slopes off, since we've been changing and building soil so much, and we have the hugelkultur on the east side of the bed, and I have some on the west side of the bed, the ground holds water much more. We don't irrigate the thornless blackberry plants here. However, at the far western part of the property, you could see the plants are having more trouble. They're smaller. They aren't getting as big a canes, like the thickness of my thumb or bigger than that, because they're setting. Thornless blackberries love well-drained soil, and it's not really well drained down there at this point. Now I have some more work to do in that area, and I'm really going to be doing, I've done hugelkultur to the west side of that bed where the living fence is, which you'll see in future videos and you may have seen in the past as well. And I've put in a drainage swale, and I need to extend that up to where the blackberries are as well, because the soil is getting deeper and deeper, which is really nice that there's really deep, rich soil, but that soil has to drain well, so I'll be putting a drainage swale extending up to that area in the future. But that's a ways away. So what do I mean by the salvage type of pruning that I'm doing right at this point? Well, I've let these blackberries grow without my intervention, without harvesting them, for 2 years, and as a result, with the deer damage and them overgrowing and the canes laying down away from the trellis, that's caused me to really thin them out pretty heavy and cut them back. Now, for the most part, one of the ways when I'm pruning the blackberry plants, I want to get, let's say, 3 to potentially 5 or 6 good, strong, thick canes that are straight upright and that are well spaced in between, and I'll cut them off at about 4.5, maybe 5 foot tall at the most. And so by deadheading the top of it and cutting that off there, that decreases apical dominance and encourages side branches going out. I prune off all the lower lateral branches below 3 feet where the lower support line is, because it's a 2-string electric fencing that extends between T-posts, and I'll show you that in a couple of minutes in the video. But I really, instead of having the nice lateral branches going out and tipping those, what I've done is I've pretty much just trimmed them right down to almost just straight vertical canes. Trying to cut back and trying to clean out as much of the weeds below the area as well. Now I do keep an eye. I examined all of the canes beforehand, because you can get different diseases, from fungal to viral to various parasitic types of diseases that blackberry plants can get. So I examined the canes, because if there are signs of those parasitic diseases, you want to move those out of the area. But after going through and pruning them, I left all of the tops and the sides of the canes right in the pathways in between each of these rows, and I went through with the BCS flail mower to go down and chop it up. And a flail mower is like a mulching mower. It's really good for taking down after you've harvested your corn. Well, one of the things you can do is go right down the row of corn, and that'll chop it up into a really small little particles, like small little wood shavings or wood chips. And that makes, with a greater surface area, makes it much easier for that material to break down over the winter months. And so what I did was I ran through with a flail mower and chopped all of the excess cane material and side shoots down the middle of the path after getting everything pruned. So typically one of the ways that I would be pruning it is top it at 4.5 to 5 foot tall, leave lateral branches out, just a few of them, somewhere between 12 inches and maybe 16 or 18 inches long, and then go back after they start with their new green growth coming out from each one of those buds. There'll be little limbs that come off, and I'd cut those off at about 12 inches as well. One of the things that's really nice about semi-erect thornless blackberries, they're pretty darn easy to manage once you get them about 3 years old, when they're really putting up really good vertical canes, as long as you maintain them. And they produce luscious, big, beautiful berries, these Triple Crown and the Chesters. And with those two, they really pollinate each other extremely well, with the bees that are on the property. And the other thing that actually works out very well with these is that there's pretty much probably about a 2-month harvesting window that you can harvest off of those blackberries. So basically you can go out there every other day and harvest several quarts at a time, to gallons actually, if you're managing these properly. So they're very productive, they taste delicious, they're large, they're easy to pick. They're fairly easy to maintain if you prune them and support them as well. The first 3 years, I think they do need a 2-string trellis system to support them well, and you may tie them off to the trellis to keep them up, because the first few canes that they put up will be pretty flimsy. Now with these, the canes actually come up in 2 different phases. So they come up with a primocane first. So during the spring, right now we just have the floral canes. These are the canes that are leftover that came up last spring. And they came up, and I've just pruned them back to single canes right now. And I'll re-prune them once we get some new growth. Hopefully I'll get up there and take care of that. But those are the floral canes, and they'll produce flowers and lots of berries. The primocanes, which will come up as the season progresses, that'll be a new green cane that comes up, and the rest of these are sort of a maroonish, brownish color. They come up as green during the first part of the season. Then as they mature, they turn to a maroon color, and the old canes will get sort of a clay or a tan color ultimately, and become just woody material that is no longer productive. So at the end of the season, after the plants start to go dormant, it's really wise, either during the winter time or really early in the springtime, getting up there and pruning them back. And so we have plenty of good ground area for the new primocanes to come up in the springtime. So I'll try to stay on top of it this year, no guarantees, but what I'll show next is some GoPro footage of first me going up with the I think I'm going up first with the loppers and lopping them off, and the both bypass loppers and bypass hand shears, and pruning them back to just a few canes vertical. Then I put on my helmet cam, the GoPro camera on that, and talk a little bit about how they look at this point. And then after that, you'll see me using the BCS tractor. I've got a BCS 749 walk-behind Italian-made tractor. And on this time, instead of using one of the rear mount utilities, I've got the handlebars turned the opposite way. And so this is a front mount flail mower. So it's like a mowing machine that really mulches everything up very, very well, breaks it down. All those big canes that are sitting in the pathways get broken down. Now again, I wouldn't do this if I saw any sign of disease in those canes. I'd be taking them out and moving them to a different part of the property and burying them. So I hope that all makes sense. I know I owe you some questions, some answers to questions that I've gotten recently. Hopefully I'll get to that very soon. I'm just running a little bit behind here with projects. But I wanted to put this video together so you can see what's going on at this point. So if you found this video of value, please give us a thumbs up. If you've got any comments or questions, please leave them below. And by all means, folks, stay safe, keep social distancing, grow your own food, get started with that. And by all means, folks, stay safe and stay safe. Stay safe and stay safe. Yeah, just stay safe. Bye-bye now. Okay, we're up here in the thornless blackberry plot. You can see that there's still a lot of work going on around here. You can see I've got hugelkultur beds going around the outer side and lots of chips going down as well. It's been a very slow process here, and I've completely neglected these blackberry plants up here. They really produce, if I take care of them, they produce tons of beautiful, big, large, juicy, sweet blackberries. And I think the last time I came through and did any pruning, and that was in September of 2018. The deer love these plants. They go through it, and unfortunately, because I hadn't been pruning them, the excessive growth and the weed development, all of those things have been a real hassle. So just a quick refresher, and I have posted videos on these processes of caring for these in the past. I've just done a poor management job since then. So we use T-posts. These ones are all 6-foot T-posts driven into the ground a little ways, 2 strands of electric wire, one midway and one towards the top, probably about 4 foot high off the ground. And the blackberry varieties we have here are 2 varieties of thornless, semi-erect blackberry plants. They are Chester and Triple Crown. Both make very large, delicious blackberries. And what I would describe right now is you see so many of them are short, and you can see lots of the debris all along in here in the pathway. I'll come through with the flail mower and chop this all up. And we don't have any disease. So we don't have any boring disease in the canes, so that's why I can chop it up here instead of removing them off to another location. But when these are well taken care of, what you want to do is prune them back to about between 2 and 6 different vertical canes, and trim off their side shoots and trim them off at about 4.5, maybe 5 foot tall. By pruning them at the top and pinching the tops of them, that decreases apical dominance, and it's going to force it to send out some side branching. Then you should come through and trim off those side branches somewhere between 1 foot and maybe 16 or 18 inches long, wide on either side. And you can see I've gone through these areas. Down at the other end, they're really short and haven't done as well because that area is retaining a little bit too much moisture, so I've got to extend my drainage system a little bit further down there. So there's more work to be done. Here we are. You can see these are old canes, 2 years old, that I hadn't gone, and you can see once this one pruned off, it sent off side shoots, probably about about 16 inches long, and this bared fruit off of all the sides. And you can see I did chop off these side shoots here. So all the dead canes have got to come out. And if I had pruned this correctly, we'd have more vertical uprights. Again, here's some more of these old dead canes. And as a result of neglecting these blackberry bushes, they get too many of the small ones. There's lots of competition between the uprights, and as a result, there's problems. And as a deer come through, these extensions, if the side shoots are really extensive, they can be 12 feet long. Then the deer get a hold of them and start chewing them back and pulling them, and they end up being all over the place. Where if they're maintained properly, after about their 3rd season, they tend to do extremely well. You get some really nice vertical canes, and you can see I didn't come through last year and tip this one like I should have, cut it off right about here. and then trimmed all of these side shoots off as well. So the thing with these thornless blackberry plants, what they do is the first shoot that they send up is the primocane, and they will some of them will flower out some, and you'll get some berries off of those, but it's the next season where that primocane overwinters and turns into a florocane, and that'll produce an abundance of berries the next season, like this one here. So I've got to come through, do quite a bit more pruning out. It'll look more like this side over here after I get done, and this whole area will be modified. Wood chips will be brought in to bring up the soil level as well, and those plants that are weak down there I'll go ahead and replace with some of the real hardy ones that I've got potted up.